Ah, hello, my friend. Welcome to the fire. Have you ever played D&D or some other TTRPG with a child? Was it a good experience? The time I ended up playing in a child's game, r/RPG horror stories, hosted by Steel. Be me, a year or two into TTRPGs and having played nothing but D&D 5e for the entirety of that time. I was younger, but I had a grasp on the rules and passion for creating worlds and characters of my own, as well as showing off those worlds and characters to my friends and family. After a while of stagnation, and with nothing better to do, I go searching through the D&D Amino and I find myself a group. I do not particularly remember what everyone played, but I somewhat remember who they all were. Country, a grown man and a fun personality. He was a good sport and was apparently a southerner with a fairly thick accent. Shy, a girl closer to my age that didn't speak much save for trying their best to provide support for the group. Bland, somebody I remember being there, but they inserted so little I hardly remember anything about them. Thief, the small child, and the subject of our story. Their name will make sense later. Our group meets up on Discord and we all mingle and exchange our character concepts and enthuse about the coming game day. Thief would remain silent, not speaking a word to any of us. Didn't even ask what we were playing. So, the rest continued to talk. I get around to asking if anyone had ever played with this DM before. Country, Shy, and Bland had never even heard of them before. In fact, checking Thief's Amino revealed that the AD for their game was their first post on Amino at all. Checking when they joined Amino revealed that they had only joined a few days prior. This immediately got the wheels spinning in my head, and I sat for a while thinking about it. But I decided not to say anything, as I assumed the group also knew about these two facts. My initial conclusion was, well, they're either older or a child, as folks on Amino are usually one of the two if they had just joined. It was a gamble, but I was naive and betted on a chance that this DM was an experienced, older person and that this game would be fine. Oh, young me, what a fool you were. The day of the game rolls around and all of us file into the voice chat, teeming with excitement. Then, after a tense 3 minutes of waiting, Thief pops into the call. Hey guys, are you ready to do Dungeons and Dragons? Silence for a solid 10 seconds. Thief couldn't be older than 10. I unmute my mic in an attempt to stir our party back into action. Yeah, dude, let's get going. The rest of the party is brought out of their state of shock and join in with far less enthusiasm. I can practically smell the confusion and disappointment coming from the others, but I grit my teeth and pushed on. Perhaps this kid had something up his sleeve. Perhaps this wasn't going to be so bad. Alright, you're all in the tavern. Silence. Thief just stopped talking. That was it, our grand entrance to the adventure. And, Country piped in, I can already sense things are about to spiral. Roleplay! I was losing faith by the second, but I kept going. I jump in and describe my character, prompting the others to do the same. As we finish introducing ourselves to each other, Thief speaks. As you're talking, a minotaur breaks through the wall. What do you do? All of us say some variation of "let's take it on" / we'll fight it. Good, so you killed the Minotaur. Whoa, what? Country pipes up once again. No initiative? No combat? Thief sounds a bit taken aback. What? What's that? Dear God, our DM, the child, Thief brought us into a game he didn't even know how to play. I chuckle a bit as I finally understand what's going on. I chime in. Thief, have you ever actually played D&D before? No? Bingo. The game comes to a screeching halt, and we all take a moment to regain composure. After some exclamations of disbelief and slight annoyance on the part of our players, I take the reins as DM and start a simple dungeon to show Thief the ropes, and give the others something to play as consolation. I run the first floor of Dungeon of the Mad Mage. I set the scene at the Yawning Portal. The players introduce themselves as the same characters as before, and Thief, with the assistance of myself, introduces his Tabaxi Rogue. Minor spoiler warnings for Dungeon of the Mad Mage after this point. The gang is given a quest to find a magic item on the first floor of the dungeon, and therefore must pay the fee to the man that lowers folks through a hole in the center of the tavern into the dungeon. Easy, right? Well, as a shifty rogue would do, Thief is on the prowl for gold. So, when he notices the pot of gold, silver, and copper pieces by the hole and in front of the man, he of course attempts to steal it. This results in a sleight of hand check, which Thief fails. The man clearly sees Rogue attempting to steal the pot and rakes his hand with a thin stick, telling him to shove off. A mistake on my part. Thief's character takes this as an attack and draws his 2 daggers to prepare and murder this man. However, just as he's about to make the attack roll, I describe that as he draws his weapons, many tavern goers do as well. This is Waterdeep. It's not exactly a place of sunshine and rainbows. Thief understands that he's outnumbered and sheathed his weapons. I breathe a sigh of relief along with the others in the game. However, just as I'm sure the adventure is going to get along now, Thief pulls something else. He simply runs out of the tavern. Now, I have absolutely nothing prepared outside of the dungeon, and I'm still young and fairly inexperienced at DMing at this point. So, I tell him as politely as I can that I have nothing outside of this tavern, and I'm not going to run 2 different games for him and the party. Admittedly, this was most certainly railroading, and I facepalm thinking back on it. But Thief agreed to stay with the party and go through the dungeon I prepared. The adventure goes fairly smooth after that, as the party trek through the dusty and ancient halls of the Mad Mage's underground tower, until they come across a secret room off the path, opening the door into an almost featureless room. The party sees only 3 things: an armor stand, the sword stabbed through it, and the skeletal hand lying beneath it. The sword, glowing with some sort of magical enchantment, seems to almost beckon the players. They all seem to know something was up, even without the aid of magic. Through the skeletal hand on the ground, lying in a puddle of long dry blood, they deduce that this sword was certainly bad news. Luckily, if I remember correctly, Shai was able to identify the sword. It was definitely cursed. As I began describing the nature of its curse, I hear a squeaky voice attempt to speak over mine. I grab it. It's mine. Silence. I ask if he's sure. Yes. I take a breath and tell him he pulls the sword from the armor stand with ease, and to add a longsword to his inventory. Awesome! I got a magic sword! Ooh, I feel terrible, as the rest of the group began to tell Thief that his sword is cursed. Thief is not having it and begins accusing them of lying in order to get him to drop the sword. They continue on to say that they aren't lying, and I even confirm out of character that it is in fact cursed. Fine, I put it down, he said through a pout. I shake my head and began describing the sword's curse once again. The sword was cursed in such a way that once someone grabbed its handle, it could not be let go. The wielder would permanently have the sword in their hand unless someone dispelled the curse through magic. Bland, who I think was some sort of mage, attempted to dispel its magic. A grand mistake. Thief freaks out and all hell breaks loose as Thief attempts to kill Bland with the longsword, not wanting his precious magic item to be stolen. Shy backs up and out the room, while Country immediately steps into PvP to defend Bland. Now suddenly, my game has fallen apart. Bland and Country are able to fell Thief, and I end the session there. We would never have a second. I leave the call, needing to sleep the stress off. The next morning, I wake up to the Discord server being deleted as I did not own it. I text Country, Shy, and Bland over Discord, and they gave me the rundown of what happened after I left. Once I was gone, a tirade of slurs and offensive language poured from this child into the general chat. It was as if someone had condensed a Modern Warfare 2 lobby into liquid form, blended it with early stage incel essence, and then set it on fire. Many of the things this child said I cannot repeat, but rest assured, many were directed towards myself and Country. Country for being the one that actually downed Thief, and myself for allowing it. It has been many years since then, and I have grown into a far more competent DM. However, I will always remember this game as a significant lesson in dealing with unpredictable players. To this day, whenever I run Dungeon of the Mad Mage, I add a homage to Thief by having the sword instead to be in the skeletal hand of a tabaxi corpse slumped over in the corner of the secret room. As for the rest of the group, we don't talk anymore. I hope Shy came out of their shell, I hope Country had more amazing adventures, and I hope Bland developed more character traits that made them memorable to others in case they end up in a story of their own. I mean, at least OP got a good story out of it. Yeah. Honestly, while playing with children, you gotta approach things a bit different usually and just roll with the chaos that's going to flow. And like I said, at least a good story came out of all of this. Oh, and good on OP for taking charge of things and making sure it wasn't going to be a total waste of time for everyone. I mean, it could have totally gone the other way where everybody just bailed when they realized the situation. Also, while I agree that railroading isn't a good thing, in this case, OP was justified due to the fact that they had to literally come up with a game on the fly. Yeah. Well, what do you all think? Would you have done what OP did and ran a game for everyone in that situation? Or would you have just bailed? Sound off in the comments. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you want to see more content like this. And would you kindly follow the socials posted in the description below. As always, be good, be great, be awesome.